Each and every week on The Informer, we catch up with people who continue to make a difference in their chosen craft. And one such person is Robert Klupacs from Bionic Institute. Robert, welcome to The Informer.
Thanks, George. Pleasure to be here.
More importantly, I want to talk about some of the things that the Bionic Institute is doing, has done, and I'm very excited to hear that you've got some even more exciting innovations and devices that are coming down the track.
Yeah.
So let's talk about them. Where did the Bionic Institute get its great DNA from?
Well, we started 1986. A lot of people, maybe they're a bit old now, but Professor Graham Clark, the guy that developed the Bionic ear.
The cochlear, the so-called cochlear implant.
Cochlear implant, which has gone on to become one of the most amazing discoveries this country's ever seen and the world's ever seen, giving hearing back to more than 1 million kids and people. But that was 30, 40 years ago. That spawned, our research spawned the great company of Cochlear Limited in Sydney, which goes tremendously well. But the research, the DNA, as you say, George, has been in the place for 40 years. What we've been doing ever since then is getting the learnings from what it took to make a cochlear implant, putting doctors together with biologists, with engineers, and making great things happen, and also having a theory that
changing people's lives.
Changing people's lives. And you know, you and I have grown up that we heal ourselves by taking a pill. And Graham was a great believer that if you can harness the natural energy of the body through stimulation, that the body can do great things itself. And so we've taken the DNA of Graham and transformed that in more recent years to make a whole series of early stage devices, to treat epilepsy or to monitor epilepsy, to treat Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. We've got a fantastic technology that we're using to enhance the treatment of Parkinson's disease. We're doing for treatments for incontinence using stimulation. We've got this lovely group of engineers.
We're talking about a series of modern implants.
Correct.
Invasive, yes, but at the same time critical, because they get into the system and they, as you said, use the electronics and the stimulation and the technology, which must be super exciting because science is giving us so many more ways to adapt data, which is so critical.
Yes, I mean we do. So people think of us as making, widgets. We don't. We make very, very highly engineered implants, and they do a great job of stimulating the body, particular nerves.
Yep.
But the reality, as you say, it is about the data. So the other thing we do very well is learn how to collect the signals in our body and find out when they're going wrong, and or develop software and algorithms so that we can take that information and feed it back to you in this AI sense, so that you can get this what we call closed loop system, so that things you can be treating yourself.
Well, that's really exciting. When you start talking about gathering data and translating it, if we can use that expression, so that when it comes back to whoever is using it, it opens up their world. Just as the cochlea grabbed all those different sounds and made it into a language for those people who were hearing impaired. You're doing it with vision. You're doing it, I think you've got biovision, you've got neurovision.
We're actually we're measuring brain signals, we're changing the way the brain functions, we're changing the way
we're stimulating. Is that giving you a chance also to use it as a bit of a device to help control people who are suffering from epilepsy?
Well, I think the goal for us is at the moment, just if I could take a step back, George. So at the moment, if you've got epilepsy, your life is terrible in a lot of cases. Not because you're unhealthy per se, but you never know when you're going to have a seizure. And the way the doctors treat them, they come in, and it's really quite old-fashioned. They go in, they write down when they have a seizure and say, "Doctor, I think I had 20 seizures this week." The doctor tries to give them a drug.
But you have technology that can map it out.
That's right. So that's so what happens.
And predict, is that right as well?
Well, that's the goal.
That's the goal.
Right now, the major problem for a doctor is a patient comes in, I said I had X number of seizures, but because the part of the brain that gets affected by a seizure also affects the memory part, they don't know when they've had them.
Got it.
So the doctor's trying to treat them on old, ridiculous pen and paper data. And what we're doing is putting an implant into just above under the skin on the skull to monitor the signals in the brain, so we can give you a quantitative, real-time, continuous measurement of what you've got, That information gets sent up to the cloud, we generate a report for the doctor. The doctor can then titrate drugs. That sounds pretty basic, but that's a compelling and massive shift. Oh. But from there, once we've got enough information from an epilepsy patient, we think we can then develop algorithms with that information on a personalised basis. So we've looked at you and we can see that you always have a seizure between 7 and 9 in the morning. And you know, if you have epilepsy and you know when you're going to get them, your life can change because you just don't. What happens now, they can't do a lot of things like drive, swim, shower because they're fearful of blacking out. If they know they're going to black out at that time, they can do it in their normal the rest of the time. That is game-changing, enormously powerful. That's just one area of the things we've done. But that took 10 years to get there, George. But,
wow.
But
so that's epilepsy. You mentioned Crohn's disease.
Yes.
How are you helping to treat patients and victims with Crohn's disease?
Well, it's a terrible, terrible disease. So we've been fortunate the last 7 years, the US government, through their funding agency, DARPA, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, we call it inflammatory bowel disease, huge inflammation of the gut. It's been linked to PTSD. And young soldiers in the United States coming back from tours and at the age of 23 to 27, coming down with this condition, incredibly debilitating, painful, and they need to do something. There are drugs to treat it, but they're incredibly expensive, don't always work.
And there are side effects, of course.
Very significant side effects. What we've done is we've developed a stimulator for a particular nerve in the body that goes from the head all the way to the gut. We stimulate it just below the gut here. We put a little stimulator, we put it in the buttock.
Yeah, this is like an implant.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
We created a lead that then goes and stimulates this, wraps around the nerve. We stimulate that. And that we've shown in rat models and other sheep models, we've reduced the inflammation completely.
Wow.
So that trial's about to start at the Austin Hospital later this year. It was going to start earlier, but for COVID. But that is incredibly exciting.
Are you still looking for people to join you for that trial?
The clinicians are looking for people to volunteer for the study, obviously, and we're looking to get 12 or 15 patients as soon as we can. They'll be streamed into the world-leading centre at the Austin, but all around Melbourne in particular. So we'd love people to contact their doctor.
If people want to know more, how do they reach out?
Well, they should reach out to me through the Bionic
So this is
Institute.
Robert Klupacs at the Bionic Institute?
Yes, and I can give you the details later on, or some of my other research colleagues and all of the people at the Austin Hospital. So we can give you the details later on.
Robert Klupacs, thank you for joining us and for giving us an insight into the Bionic Institute, which has been around for the better part of 40 odd years. But to hear about the DNA, where you came from, what a change you made to the world when Graham Clark introduced the cochlear implant. That's just fantastic, and to know that just around the corner there's a next crop of serious devices that not only will but already are making a huge difference in people's lives and the way they live their lives.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, George.